Okay, we've been in a sermon series. Oh, Chris, you're awesome. We've been in a sermon series. We've been examining thank you very much. Okay, there we go. Point by point, our Vineyard Movement's statement of faith, what we believe. I love what Dan said last week. I really respect it. We're just trying to clarify what the Bible tells us about our faith and God and living out our lives as believers. So we do need to be very, very, very careful, right? Careful and humble. You know, we serve a God of diversity. We pray that in our prayer. He gives us a lot of choices, but he also gives us his word and he tells us to obey it. And sometimes that's easy. Sometimes that's not so easy, right? Have you ever had to have a difficult conversation with your kids or a spouse or a friend, you know, the sex talk with your kids or, a problem that you need to address? It's words that need to be said. You need to talk about them, but you just know it's not going to be a lot of fun talking about it. That's the way I feel today. My subject is Satan, the devil. That's what we're talking about today. I'm going to guess that's not your favorite subject. I hope it's not your favorite subject. It's not mine either, but I do think it's necessary. I do. And that's because this is in our Vineyard statement of faith. This is in our statement of faith. We believe that Satan, originally a great good angel, rebelled against God, taking a host of angels with him. He was cast out of God's presence, and as a usurper of God's rule, established a counter kingdom of darkness and evil on the earth. You know, in all my years of going to church, attending church since I was small, I don't think I've ever heard a whole sermon on Satan. But you know what? Maybe it's time. I do understand, and I want you guys to understand, we shouldn't spend too much focus or attention on Satan and his demons. That's not healthy. I don't want to do that. But when you're in a battle, when you're in a fight, when you're in a war, the best thing that you can do is to learn about your enemy. Know your enemy. And that's all I want to do. I want to study our enemy because, guys, we're engaged in spiritual warfare. Every human on this earth is engaged in spiritual warfare. It's war. And you have an enemy, a very powerful, evil enemy. Whether you're a believer or not, you have this enemy. Now, spoiler alert. I want to say from the very beginning, we win. God wins. God is so much more powerful. We need to be educated about Satan. We do not need to be fearful. We serve a great God. He's already won the war. Yes, thank you. We do have a few more battles to win. So, let's start. I've told you guys before, but for those of you who are new, I love history. I love history. I love studying history. You know why? History is his story. I see Jesus all over the pages of history all the time. One of my favorite periods to study is World War II, probably because my dad, Ralph, fought in World War II. He was devil in baggy pants, 1st Special Service Force, Green Beret paratrooper. He was a boss. He was a small man. He was dropped behind enemy lines several times. Twice he was a prisoner of war, and twice he escaped. Boss. And my father would tell me, and everything that I've read points to the idea that we won that war, World War II, by the grace of God and the skin of our teeth. It was so much closer than many people think. It was over in 45. And it was really over several months before. The battles hadn't stopped, but the war was decided. But in 40, 41, 42, it was so precarious. Just a few battles lost instead of won. Just a few miracles from God taken away. The Allies could have lost World War II. It could have happened. And you know what? The more I study World War II, the more I see God's hand in it. Just for one example, look up the Battle of Dunkirk. Oh my gosh, it was a huge answer to a nation of prayer, nationwide call to prayer, and a miracle from God. It is beautiful to see his hand in history. the Allies won the war. They had several strategies, but a couple. Mostly what they tried to do, one of the big ways they tried to win was to infiltrate and intercept German intelligence. They tried to study their enemy and learn about their plans. One thing they did was to drop spies, send spies into Nazi territory, men and women who risked their lives trying to gain information. Many of them did die for the cause of the Allies. Another Allied strategy involved decoding the Nazi cipher device called Enigma. They were very proud of this device. The Nazis thought it was so secure, they sent extremely sensitive, top secret messages through it. And they didn't have a clue that as early as the mid-1930s, Poland and Britain had used cryptanalysis to break the code. They were intercepting those messages, right, Shelley? She's in my book club. We're reading a book about that. When they let me pick, it's always World War II, right? These are two strategies the Allies used to win the war. That's all I want to do. I want to learn about study our enemy a little bit so that we can win the war. It's not unlike, my husband loves football. It's not unlike when Bo Nix and the Broncos study the Chiefs or the Jets, right? They learn their strengths and their weaknesses and their plans so that they can have victory over their opponents in a football game. Friends, this is spiritual warfare. Where did my slides go? This is spiritual warfare. It's war, it's not a game. Chris, my slides aren't working again. I'm so sorry. Yeah. This is not one of my favorite sermons. This isn't going to be one of your favorite sermons. You're not going to go, oh, that really inspired me, Jen. No. But you know what? It's necessary. We need to do this. That's okay with me. Let's get through it. Let's study and learn about our enemy, his schemes, how to resist him. Let's get to know who he really is, the powers he has and doesn't have, and the strategies he uses to attack us humans who are the image bearers of his enemy, God. Luke 10:18 says, Jesus replied, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. The first point I want to make very clear is that Jesus is very real. Satan is real. Satan is very, very real. Hell is real. In fact, because they're eternal, Satan and hell are more real than anything else in this room except us people. Absolutely, they are real. I think most of you as believers know that and understand that, but I really want to hammer it in because ever since the Enlightenment age, Satan has done a really good job at hiding himself. Especially in the educated people of this world. The more humans grew in intelligence and industrialization and in widespread education, the more Satan's hid himself. Thank you. We began to see belief in demons and the devil as simplistic and primitive. Today, culturally, a lot of us, maybe not you guys, but a lot of people equate demons and the devil with witches and fairies and mythical creatures. In our intellectual sophistication, we often look down on cultures that really still believe very strongly in the spiritual world. You know what I think? I think it's our sophisticated intellectuals that view Satan as a cartoon character. I think they're being narrow-minded. I think they're being too simplistic. It's too simple. And I say that because of this, World War II. Let me go back. History teaches us so much. Oh, yeah. Thank you, guys. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. I say that because of this. Around the time of the 20th, around the time of the turn of the century, 1800s to 1900s, there was a very popular idea among educated people that all we had to do was a growing belief that the human race could stamp out or at least greatly reduce the problem of evil by widespread education and the reduction of poverty. It sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? Yeah, as long as we educate and feed people, it'll be better. That through progress, we could drastically reduce the problem of evil, if not eliminate it. There was a writer back then, H.G. Wells. He was a prominent writer at the turn of the century. He wrote about it, very much believed in this idea up until World War II. I was born in 1967. And my generation and all the generations born after me has always seen America as a superpower, right? We've always been the most powerful nation in the world, right? At the turn of this 19th century, in H.G. Wells' day, that was actually Germany. Germany was the most powerful nation in the world. It was called the Weimar Republic back then. And it was the most elevated social system on the planet in terms of culture, education, the arts, medicine, psychology, research. Not all, but most of the most brilliant minds in the world at that time, Einstein, Nietzsche, Freud, were inside that incredible system. And that very educated, very sophisticated system gave birth to the Nazi Party, one of the most evil governments ever, right? In 1945, that's the year World War II ended, H.G. Wells, that writer that so believed that education and stamping out poverty could alleviate or maybe even eliminate evil, he wrote a rebuttal. And it's called A Mind at the End of Its Tether. Doesn't that sound desperate? A mind at the end of its tether. Basically, it said, it reversed his theory. No, education can't stamp out evil. But because it was obvious, education wasn't the antidote for evil, because the Nazi Party, if anything, was an example of intelligence became a catalyst for extreme evil, not a deterrent to evil. One of the things we learned from the Holocaust was that we cannot eradicate evil with education, with intelligence. We just can't do it. Evil is more than bad behavior. It's more than bad circumstances. Evil is a spirit. Satan is very, very real. Next point I want to make, again, you're not going to like it. I don't like it. The problem is it's true. Satan was the most magnificent, beautiful, intelligent creature ever created. Ever created. Oh, here we go. We can just turn it off. I'm so sorry. I'm going to work on that. Ezekiel 28:13-17. God is talking. He's talking to the king of Tyre, but you'll see in these verses, he's really talking about Satan. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorns you: carnelian, chrysolite, and emerald, topaz, onyx, jasper, lapis, lazuli, turquoise, and beryl. Lazuli? What is that? Sounds beautiful. The workmanship of your timbrels and pipes were prepared for you. Thank you so much. On the day you were created, you were anointed as a guardian cherub, for so I had ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God. You walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in all your ways. From the day you were created till wickedness was found in you. Through your widespread trade, you were filled with violence, and you sinned. So I drove you in disgrace from the mount of God, my typing error, from the mount of God, and I expelled you, guardian cherub, from among the fiery stones. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I threw you to the earth. I made a spectacle of you before kings. This is about Satan. Lucifer was Satan's angelic name. And I didn't know this up until a few days ago. Do you know what Lucifer means? Bearer of light, morning star, shining, brilliant light. How ironic. The king of darkness's original name meant bearer of light. It's a beautiful name, but you know what? We don't name our kids Lucifer, do we? He's totally ruined it for us, right? We learn in these verses Lucifer was the guardian cherub. He hovered over. Cherubs were angels that worked in God's throne room, or work in God's throne room. He was the guardian cherub. He hovered over God's throne. These timbrels and pipes they're talking about were likely musical instruments. Satan was likely a worship leader, maker of heavenly music. I so often, I do this all the time. I think of Satan as this grotesque, ugly, disgusting thing, but the Bible's telling us right here he was the perfection of beauty. The Bible tells us there were 3 archangels, Gabriel, Michael, and Lucifer. So he was not just an angel, he was one of the chief angels. The Bible lists 3, there might be more, but it looks like there were 3 chief angels. Lucifer was one. Isaiah 14:13, you said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the mountain of the assembly, on the utmost heights of the sacred mountain. Satan had ambition. He wanted to ascend, but he was already a top angel. There was only one position higher. He wanted to be the triune God. He wanted God's job. He tried to usurp God. And right here, guys, right here is where we see intelligence and knowledge and wisdom are not enough to protect us against evil. Satan was full of intelligence, and he made the biggest, stupidest, most horrible mistake ever made. So let's talk about what kind of power does Satan have? Let's talk about that. Satan is a created being. We said that, right? He was one of the first beings to be created, but he is a created being. He's not God. So please don't think of him as equal or opposite, right? His power is derived from God. It's nothing compared to God's, not even close. Next thing, Satan is not omnipresent. He can't be everywhere all at once. He's not omnipresent. Angels are not omnipresent. There's a verse in Daniel about a heavenly good angel being sent to Daniel as a messenger, and he gets delayed 3 weeks, has to call in Michael, the archangel, the big guns, to be rescued. Even the heavenly angels are limited by space, whereas God is everywhere, omnipresent. You can't find a place in this world, it doesn't exist, where God isn't already there. That's not true of Satan. Satan can't be in 2 places at once. Angels can't be in 2 places at once. The Bible does say that when the devil rebelled, 1/3 of the angels came with him. So he's still outnumbered, 2/3, 1/3, right? So he does have a lot of help, but he can't be everywhere. Satan is not omniscient. He's not all-knowing. He's not omnipresent, and he's not all-knowing, omniscient. Now, Satan is very, very, very intelligent, very wise, well beyond our capability. And with those fallen angels, it really does look like he's put together a very highly organized, efficient network of powerful spiritual beings, of which he is the chief. Remember back in March, we were talking about the book of Mark, and in chapter 5, Jesus encounters a man that is possessed by a legion of demons. Remember that? We were talking about it, and in studying, we saw that the demons, as soon as they recognized Jesus, they immediately had that man drop to his knees. They submitted and begged for mercy. There was no battle. There was no challenge of power. They immediately submitted. They knew they had to submit to God. They begged for mercy. They asked for 2 things. Don't throw us out of the region. Throw us into the group of pigs, right? They wanted to stay in the region. This verse, and there's some other verses in Daniel and Revelation, imply fallen angels have territories, right? The implication is they are required to stay in their territories. Now, this makes sense. The Bible doesn't specifically say that, but it looks like that is the case, right? And that would make sense. If you're going to fight God, you better get organized and efficient in your battle. Next point, Satan loves to imitate God. Satan loves to imitate God. Satan doesn't have an original bone in his body. He really doesn't. He copies everything God does. And you know what? Study history. Again, it points to Jesus. When you look at history, all the great men of this world, pastors, astronomers, explorers, scientists, they're interesting, they're different, they're original, they're creative, they're beautiful. Look at the bad men of history. Steal, kill, destroy, rape, pillage, plunder. They're all the same, okay? Look at it, just study it. Satan loves to copy God. Again, he's not equal and opposite. You know, it's not this great force of evil versus this great force of good. If you might think of evil more like a cancer or a parasite, it has to have good to exist. So it attaches itself to good and it feeds on the good. There is no such thing as pure evil. No, not even Satan. Satan was a beautiful, intelligent, wise angel of God. He's just completely corrupt at this point. Completely corrupt, and so he's still trying to be God. He mimics everything God does. Satan wants to be God. 1 John 4:1, beloved, do not believe in every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. For many false prophets have gone out in the world. 2 Corinthians 11:13-15, for such men are false apostles, deceitful workmen, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is of no surprise if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. Their end will correspond to their deeds. Satan takes these beautiful, creative, original ideas that God gives us, and he corrupts them. God gave us love. Maybe the best gift. God gave us love. God is love. Satan tries to get us to settle for lust. God gives us joy, wonderful joy. Satan tries to substitute pleasure for joy. God gives us this incredible ability to repent. He knows we're going to make some mistakes, and so he gives us this ability to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I'm going to turn away from that, and I'm going to stop doing it. Satan gives us a counterpart. It's called tolerance. You know what? I don't think what I'm doing is very wrong. I don't think I'm really hurting anybody, so I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm not going to change. God gave us the best gifts ever. Best gifts ever in Jesus' birth, Christmas, and Jesus' death and resurrection, Easter. And Satan tries to distract us with Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. Don't shoot me. I don't think they're all bad. I do think Santa and the Easter Bunny can be a huge distraction to the real meaning of Christmas and Easter. I could keep going. We could be here all day. I could talk. Satan over and over and over in the Bible, he tries to copy God. That's all he's got left. Since Jesus' death on the cross, he knows he's lost. God's ways are so good, so wonderful and beautiful and amazing. They're just not often comfortable or easy at first. Satan's ways are comfortable and easy. Very often, they're comfortable and easy at first. They're always deadly in the end. They're always deadly. In the end, this is one of the reasons I love Vineyard. Vineyard movement talks a lot about the upside down kingdom. You know, the natural world, what the kingdoms that we're used to look a certain way. God's kingdom looks very, very different than the natural world. Jesus tells us in his kingdom is made up of the poor in spirit, the mourners, the meek, the merciful, the peacemakers. The natural world sees these kinds of people as insignificant, undesirable. Jesus says in his kingdom, the greatest among you, they're going to be your servants. Is that the way it works in the natural world? No. Jesus says we win by dying to ourselves. We win by dying. Jesus won by dying, right? His apparent defeat and humiliation on the cross was really the defeat and humiliation of his enemy, Satan. Satan must have felt really fabulous for 3 days. Then Jesus conquered death, rose out of that grave, and Satan knew, from that point on, he knew he's defeated. And he's desperate. He is so desperate. Thank you. So what does he do? He still copies God. He copies God all the time. So let me ask you this. How do you know when it's from God and when it's from Satan? Sometimes it's obvious, right? Sometimes it's not so obvious. How do you know? Well, when you're trying to spot a counterfeit, the best thing that you can do is to really, 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 really get to know the original. Study and know God's word. Commune with him, pray with him, talk to him. Know what real truth really is, and don't settle for less. Don't settle for comfortable and easy. Last point, and we'll wrap it up. There are 3 things that Satan just can't copy. There are just 3 things he is not able to copy, and they're beautiful gifts from God. The world is going to tell you they're not beautiful gifts. They are absolute beautiful gifts. Believers will know. They're not comfortable or easy at first. Number 1, a willingness to suffer. Satan cannot copy that. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. 2 Corinthians 4:17, for our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. Satan wants us so addicted to comfort and ease that we are willing to compromise our biggest principles in order to keep comfort and ease. God will show you, if you let him, that suffering can actually bless you, strengthen you, grow you. And remember, Jesus suffered. We serve a God that suffered and died for us. Now, I'm going to repeat that. A willingness to suffer, not an eagerness to suffer. Not I'm looking for ways to suffer. I don't want to suffer. I don't want you guys to suffer. I hate it. But I'll tell you this. It was in the worst times of my life that I felt God's presence the most. And I miss that feeling. I don't want to suffer. I don't, but I miss that feeling. Where do you think we get this crazy idea that if we're suffering here, there is no God? Now, I hope nobody is going through anything emotionally, just overwhelmed with emotion. I know emotion clouds our judgment. But just using your noggin, our sense of reason, how does that make sense? Just thinking about it using our reason. The Bible doesn't tell us that. The world doesn't tell us that. Everybody suffers. Where do we get this idea that if we're suffering, there is no God? It's got to be from Satan. It's got to be straight from the pit of hell. And I do get it. I do. I've seen people, so many people let their emotions overwhelm them and tell them, you know what, there's no God because I'm suffering. I don't know if this is true in every case. I think sometimes what that means is I'm really mad at God. I don't think they don't believe in God. I think they're just really mad at him. And you can be mad at him, yell at him, scream, holler, be mad. He can handle it. He's a big God. But when you take him out of the equation and say he doesn't exist, don't do that. Number 2, things that Satan can't copy. Love of our enemies. Love of our enemies. Not easy, but beautiful. Matthew 5:44-45. You have heard it said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes the sun to rise on the evil and the good and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. God loves all of us. He loves all of us, even his enemies, and he wants all of us to join him in heaven, in his presence. And Satan knows he's already lost. And the only way he can hurt his enemy, God, is to steal his children, to take some of those children that have been given free will and a free choice with him out of the presence of God forever. It's not what we're made for, but that's what, so Satan hates everybody. Worship team, would you guys come back on up? Ministry team, would you come up? We need lots of worship and we need lots of prayer. And this is the big one. This is the last thing that I see that Satan can't copy. A transformed resurrection life. Satan can't create life. Satan cannot create life. He's the king of darkness and death. He can't create life. You know, at the very end, in Revelation 13, Satan knows time is running out. This earth as we know it is almost gone. And he's desperate, even more desperate than he is right now. He has this ally, the beast, and it's kind of his copy of Jesus. In fact, the beast appears to die. It's a copy of Jesus dying on the cross. He's trying to fool us into thinking that he's God. So the beast appears to die, but you know what? It's a fake. It's a fake because Satan cannot raise people or anything from the dead. Only Jesus can. There's another example. You guys go back in Exodus and look at the 10 plagues. God's people in Israel were enslaved in Egypt, right? They were slaves and God for 400 years. And God uses Moses and Aaron to rescue them and bring them to the promised land. But they got to get out of Egypt first. And Pharaoh, their king, is controlled by Satan and evil, and he won't let them go. So God sends these plagues over and over and over again. It's hilarious. I won't go through all of them, but just a few. At one point, Moses strikes the waters of the Nile, and the waters turn to blood. And you know what? The sorcerers and the magicians are able to copy that. They turn the water into blood. Why would they do that? This is their land. But then another time, Moses and Aaron cover the land with frogs. There's a plague of frogs, and it's devastating to the land. The Egyptian sorcerers and magicians do that too. Again, this is their land, but Satan doesn't care about the Egyptians any more than he does the Israelites. He's not on anybody's side. Then there's a plague that comes around that the sorcerers and magicians can't replicate. The plague of the gnats. God told Moses and Aaron to strike the ground and raise up dust, and all the dust turns into gnats. And guess what? With all their secret arts, they're not able to copy that one. They can't copy bringing to life little gnats. Satan can't bring to life one little solitary little gnat. We serve a God who died for us. He died himself and came back to life. He is the author and perfecter of life. He is the only one that can give you resurrection life. He's the only one that can save us from spiritual death. Friends, one of the most powerful weapons we have against Satan is our own testimony, a real, transformed life. I know you guys. I've heard your stories. I've heard yours and yours and yours and yours. Several of yours. You guys have these beautiful stories. One of the biggest weapons we have is our own transformation, but also watching and seeing the transformation of others. Who attended the women's night here on Wednesday? Oh, I loved Heidi's talk. It was just beautiful. It was about her own transformation journey and what God's doing in her life. It was beautiful. Right here at River City, I see faith and the love of God transform so many of us from lost and broken and hurting and just plain mean. You know who you are. To purposeful and strong and passionate about living out your life for Jesus, and it is beautiful. Let's stand. Let's stand. Dawn, do you guys know Dawn, our children's pastor? She has this wonderful saying, and I love it, so I'm going to use it. She says, anything subject to the kingdom of light, anything brought into the light is subject to the kingdom of light, and anything hidden in darkness is subject to the kingdom of darkness. So God, show us. Illuminate our minds and our hearts and show us. What do we need deliverance from? What do you need deliverance from? What if you need deliverance from the idea, the opinion that you hold of yourself? What if that's what you need deliverance from? What if we need deliverance from the way others have mislabeled us? There's another saying by D.L. Moody, a long since dead theologian. He says, I know there's a devil. Number one, because the Bible tells me so. Number two, because I've done business with him. Friends, I think we've all done business with him. And I think we need to be intentional about making sure, examining ourselves. Let's just take a few minutes and examine yourself. Lord, is there anywhere I need to break soul ties, to break agreements with Satan? Lord, we are yours, and we don't want to partner with Satan at all. We don't want any influence of his in our lives. And so, Lord, we're looking. Give us your vision. Is there anything in our lives that we need to surrender to you today, that we need to ask deliverance from? Let's do that. Do you need to be delivered from being a slave to your emotions? Do you need to be delivered from a spirit of pride or a spirit of offense? Do you get angry and upset over things all the time? Too easy, too quick. You know, see, darkness has a power. Darkness has a power. Evil is like darkness. What do we do when it's dark? We sleep, right? 90% of the world sleeps when it's dark. Evil is like darkness in that it can make you sleepy. It can make you drowsy to what's going on around you. Is there anything you've become careless or indifferent to in your life? Lord, is there anything we've become careless or indifferent to in our life? You know what that is? That's the power of darkness working in your life. Expel it. Expose it to light. The power of darkness likes to hide things, cover them up. Is there anything you won't talk about? Is there any subject that is off limits? Even in your mind, you won't even think about it or talk about it. That is Satan. Guys, that's Satan wielding his power and authority in your life. Expel him. Expose it to the King of Light. Let the King of Heaven shine his light on you and rescue you from that. We've already run. We've said that. We don't need to be fearful of him, but we need to be educated. Come up and get prayer. Raise your hand if you don't feel like coming up. You are dismissed if you need to go. Walk in his light, guys. Walk in his light.